And that, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, is the sound of the start of our episode. Welcome to Humans Anonymous. My name is Landon. I'll be joined today in a little bit by a couple other guests. As always, I'm not alone. I'm not quite ready to start doing episodes alone yet, guys. So just hang in there with me while I chat with my friends. So today we've got a special one for you. I'm real excited about it right off the bat. Just want to remind you guys, if you like the content, if you like what we've been putting out and want to see more, hear more, or see some stories related to recovery, go ahead and check out our website, www.mwah, that's MWAH.net. Mwah is our traveling performing arts troupe that has been running for over 40 years now. Ray Moffat started that back in the 80s. And so we're still carrying their message of hope here at Humans Anonymous, as well as over there with Mwah. And so please go and check out our website, mwah.net, for more information about that or to get a hold of us. Enough of my babbling and my ranting. Let's get to the episode. Today, we have got a very interesting individual coming on to talk about something that I didn't even know existed in the mental health space. And so without further ado, Aaron West will be joining us, as well as our guest today, Robbie Mattson. If you want to bring them in, perfect. How's it going, fellas?
Hello.
Good. How you doing?
Let me get myself adjusted here. Got a lot of people on screen today. I like this.
Yes.
So, Aaron, you introduced me, well, not introduced, but kind of threw out this idea to meet with Robbie based on kind of a little bit of a project that he's, well, not project, something that he's been running in the mental health space. But real quick, let's just run through. How'd you guys meet? How'd you guys connect in the first place?
Well, I work for iMagnet, and one of the Patrick, who created it, took me to VCon last year, and his old Navy pal is the one on the screen with me that I got to spend the weekend with in Indianapolis, and got to know each other. And I think we kind of had this felt like old friend bond that we've kind of continued on. And it's just, I'm excited to hit VCon again and see you soon in person. It's been too long. I'm excited to be here, at least on screen, to talk with you again soon. But the vibe and the feelings that we kind of had over the weekend, it definitely made me think of like, hey, this is something I feel like should be a part of, like have some sort of contact with Moi. And luckily we have kind of this resource and able to kind of reach out and connect and talk and have a conversation. And that's kind of what Humans Anonymous is all about, is let's learn about somebody's story and how they got to where they're at to help people. And I think that's something we're all kind of looking for.
Right on. And that is a perfect segue to you, Robbie. So let's dive right in. Where are you from, man?
Currently live in Dallas, Texas.
You're currently living in Dallas?
Yeah, city of Garland. Was born in Anaheim, California. Lived 9 years of my life in Anchorage, Alaska. So just
all over the place.
Yeah,
from Cali to Alaska?
Exactly.
Woo, I bet that was a change, huh?
It's a dry cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. That sounds kind of terrible.
For
someone who enjoys all four of the seasons, Alaska seems a little cold for me. How old were you when you moved there?
First grade, so 7.5 years old, and
wow.
We lived there off and on over 2 stints. Skipped to the 4th grade. I lived in Utah, but we're back until I left ultimately in the 10th grade. So quite a bit of my, call it my youth, I spent there.
Okay, so what led to you moving around so much? Was your dad in the military? Was he a businessman traveling around?
He did a very similar MOS, if you will, as I did in the Navy. Did it more as a reservist, if you will, and then went right into computers in the early 70s. So computers took him all over the place.
That was pretty early to get into computers too. I bet that there was a lot of traction, back then. I'm sure that if you were smart with computers back then, it held a lot more weight than it does now.
It was different. I mean, it's funny you say that. My kids are the kids that, my youngest is 26 this year, and grew up playing Xbox and talking to people on the internet and doing all these goofy things. And for me, a video game was sitting on a PC and typing out move to this quadrant, and it was all written text. There was no graphics. So yes, it's been a long growth for me.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, I bet. So after Alaska, you said it was Utah. At what point, moving into like high school, adulthood, where were you living?
So spent 10th, 11th grade in the Redmond, Washington area near Microsoft headquarters. And then I actually moved senior year, end of junior year and senior year, did in Southern California, and graduated actually in Irvine, California, University High School.
Okay, okay. So a lot of, all over the West, basically,
Yes.
and all the way up to Alaska.
Yeah.
No, that's cool though. So what did you what was like something that you liked about moving around so much? Was there anything? Because I know I'm a Navy brat myself. My dad was in the Navy for 21 years. And so for the first 7, 8 years of my life, we moved around all the time.
I think for me, life lesson is adaptability to change, being able to pivot, making new friends, just don't expect tomorrow to be the same as today, and
Oh yeah.
more flexible, if you will. I think is the positives. The negatives, I don't have anybody I can say, I went to elementary school with this guy and we're still in
Right.
touch.
And that's something that like I often look back and I'm like, I don't have any friends from grade school or anything like that because we moved around so much. And my parents chose to homeschool us, so we didn't have to deal with starting and stopping at different schools, which I'm sure was just a whole nother stress. But it was the same thing. We didn't really have a whole lot of friends other than the neighbors that we would play with. But did you feel like growing up like as a kid that affected you a lot? Was that something you thought about, or was it kind of just like this is life and so I'm making it work because my parents are making it work?
I think it's more of the latter. I think it's you're adapting and you're dealing with it. I don't know if it's a little T trauma or a big T trauma. The biggest thing that I can remember from that time was my dad and I have the same name. So
Okay.
I got to go by a nickname, and the nickname was fine at home, but the nickname at school was not going to happen. And so with twin sisters 2 years behind me, moving to new cities, going to school, I would have to almost train them on who and how to behave. So yes, I think I answered your question, but yes, it
Oh,
was
definitely.
very confusing. And
Oh, I bet. Were you the oldest then?
I am the oldest of 4. Yes.
Okay, so you've got 3 younger siblings, so 2 younger sisters, and then
All 3 are sisters. Yes.
all 3 are sisters. Okay,
Yes.
gotcha. I've got let's see, I'm gonna try to get this right. 5 brothers and 2 sisters.
Okay.
So we had
You
more
win.
boys than girls, but but it was the same. I'm right in the middle, so I had a few younger, and so I remember we did go to Baptist school for 1 year, and I remember having to help my brother out quite a lot in how to move and shake and not,
Yep.
get himself into trouble. And so, I think that's a really important role as the older sibling to make sure that you're watching out for them, and also that makes a lot of sense why. For you, it wasn't so much of like, why is this happening or this sucks, but like, how do I help my little siblings also get through this? Because, it's like you said, confusing and tough. So,
How do you adapt?
how do you adapt? And, learning that while you're going through it at 12, 14, 16, that's tough. That's interesting though. So at what point, what point did you decide that you wanted to be in the Navy?
It's kind of funny. I don't know if somebody would qualify this as a forced upon decision or if it was a natural decision. I graduated high school 2 days after I graduated. My parents left the state. They moved to a different state. They were waiting for me to get through school. Lived on my own. I want to say, I don't even remember the amount of days, maybe 29 days. It was less than a month. Blew the engine out in my car, couldn't
Oh,
drive to work. Was on a fast train to, I'm not really sure what the hell is going to happen.
yeah.
So moved home, started going to school, trying to get that, aspect going, make sure that I, was on the right track, if you will. And actually got meningitis, needed to miss some school. And it was, hey, you're not going to do really well. You've got a job. Do you want to wait? And at that point, it had been suggested that maybe I would be interested. I went in, took the ASVAB, which most people will know is the test, if you will, to figure out what you could do. And I was qualified to do anything I wanted,
Oh, wow.
chose electronics, and, sort of the rest is history. Went in right at 18. I was still 18 when I left.
Wow. Wow. That's yeah, that's right out of the gate pretty much. And
Yes.
how long were you in the military for?
I make a joke out of it's 3 years, 10 months, and 2 days, I think. But I had a 4-year stint that I signed up for, and I exited a few months early for college.
Gotcha. And so what was that experience like for you? Because like obviously my dad did a while in the Navy and he never really encouraged any of us to go into the military. And so I know that there's pros and cons to it. Like obviously I have, a ton of respect and obviously thank you for your service. But I'm wondering like, were there some things that you were like, I don't think I would be the same person in a positive or negative way if it weren't for that?
100%. I was, an 18-year-old, freshly graduated, moved around a lot, trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. I don't want to say silver spoon, but as the oldest, son, was sort of had a four-wheeler, and just was footloose and fancy free without any real knowledge of what the value of a dollar was, if you will.
Yeah.
So that was really sort of the wake up, was to go join the military, understand. And it was I talk about boot camp. I got out of boot camp, was the best shape of my life. I was a smart ass sarcastic kid that was doing push-ups and what have you. And so I think I needed it. I needed some tough love. I needed some guidance, some go follow this path, go get broken down and brought back up, as a young man with some respect and understanding the chain of command and that aspect of it. So I have 4 children, biological myself, and none of them have done the military. So, I don't know if that's because I didn't push them to do it. And at the same time, I just don't know if they would have had the same experience as I did. But for me, it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's good to hear, because I often hear people come back and they'll be like, oh, screw the military. Like that was, and so it's good to hear the positive side of things too. I have a buddy who I skated with up in Milwaukee, and right when I left Milwaukee, he joined the military and he was only like 17 years old. And he's been traveling around Europe and like just really enjoying it, and like has told me how, I mean, he was getting arrested at 15 for smoking cigarettes, like
Yep.
just bull crap little things. And, has kind of really turned his life around and is actually contributing, not just to society, but like to our military. And that's, huge. And so, yeah, it's good to hear both sides of things. I think that there's a lot of negative out there about kind of people's experience and not enough positive. So I love to hear that, because I feel like, if I probably went into the military at 18, it probably would have done something similar to me, because I remember being 18 and just wanting to tear it up and not really caring about the consequences. And so, yeah. So up to this point, do you ever feel like as a kid or as a young adult, your mental health was something that you thought about or struggled with?
I don't know that I would say that no, I don't think that I was aware. I would say I was insulated. I went to school, but I was, a member of a tight 6-member family. We, did things together on the weekends, hiked, picked berries, cross country skied, all the, really close family side of it. So I think I had a decent aspect there. It was years later through mountains of therapy and, meeting with folks and understanding that, there were certain things that happened and triggers and all sorts of, the pieces that made me who I am today. So I wouldn't, give up any of them, but, understanding where, your core negative belief of, I'm not good enough, where does that come from? How did that start? Where did it manifest? How do you continue to feed that as an adult? Those things I don't think really were front and center until, man, I had 4 kids and was an adult, and somebody had to sort of explain it to me. So yeah, it wasn't something I was aware of younger.
No, that makes sense though. I don't think that there was until very recently a whole lot of awareness about like, mental health and checking in on your friends and making sure that you're mentally healthy, whatever that means or looks like. And so, yeah, that kind of makes sense. I love asking that question because it tends to be kind of the same thing. It's like almost, 20, 30 years ago, it's not even something people were thinking about. If you were depressed, you needed to, just work harder to make your life better, or, do more exercise. It was always just like a very simple, you need to be doing a better routine or something like that. And so, yeah, it's interesting to hear that because now, there's this huge push in the other direction of, you can't ignore any of the warning signs. And so I don't know, it's interesting to me to think about that because I mean, most of the people who I ask are like, yeah, but I made it. I'm good. And I got the help when I needed the help. And so it's almost like that, this concept of until we realize it, it's not an issue, and then you realize it's an issue and you're like, oh, I have to deal with all of this now because this is what's been leading to everything else. And so, yeah, I think that pushing to kind of be more aware of that a lot earlier is definitely a good thing because I'm sure working that all out with 4 kids is pretty tough.
It was something that, yeah, I mean, I was going to say to respond, my favorite saying in 2017, or my saying for 2017 was, "You don't know what you don't know." So back to your point, we've not been aware. I'm glad there's more awareness. I'm a grandpa, so I'll say it, this way. I still think there are appropriate situations where you do want to rub some dirt on it and get up and move on, and so I think at the end of the day, we're all we as tweaks. I will bring that up. As an organization that I do participate in, we're all perfectly imperfect. We have flaws. We have to get through it. So I wish there was a way to help people to become more aware sooner. I think my own children watched my journey and watched what I went through, and hopefully took something from that. And I've trying to take sort of the bridge to how Ronnie and I met at VCon, try to take that bridge and merge what I think is a hybrid life of digital identity and digital world and physical in real life. And I think anybody who thinks that we're just going to be all digital or all real life is just sort of lying to themselves. There's going to be some sort of a mixed bag, if you will, of where we're going. So
Oh yeah, I mean, you can already see kind of the trajectory of that. But
yes.
yeah, that's kind of a good segue. Now that you kind of have dealt with the mental health side of things, you are taking that to, and Aaron, do you want to help me out here? Basically taking that to an NFT group, right?
So I participated in quite a few, the ones that sort of rise to the top, because at the end of the day, I think all NFT communities are really just groups of humans, and it's another way that they're getting together, versus talking on teams or what have you. It's a way that we can get together. This group that I specifically belong to has put a lot of effort into. If you look at the collection and what they put out, there's 10,000 unique digital collectibles or NFTs. Each one has its own uniqueness, and it's attributed to a human. And bringing the group together, it's using that as your digital sort of avatar, and we come together as a group and we talk. And it's I've participated in AA in the past. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say that out loud, or other group type events, and it feels like it has the benefits and the value that sort of community brings together, where people all get together. We as a group get together once a week religiously on Tuesdays. It's Tweak Tuesday. We play poker together, so we have a group. We all get on there digital, and you can communicate talk smack with each other, if you will, while that's going on. And you play, and the top 3 people win an NFT through the process, if you will. And then we meet for an hour after, and it's either an artist or another person, and we just get to learn where they are, what their journey. So a lot of it is focused on Web3 and NFTs because that's the community itself. But the mental health aspect of it is, comes up a lot because that's sort of what draws and brings us all together, if you will.
Okay. And is that group that Lead with Love? Is that what you guys are? Or is Lead with Love something different?
That's my digital identity. So
Okay.
I've pushed all my chips onto the table when it comes to where I think the web is going, Web3. ENS, not to go too technical, but Ethereum name service is basically a way, instead of having to have that 24 alphanumeric character wallet address so you can identify a human, you can use ENS to shorten that down. I bought into that, and leadwithlove.eth is my digital identity.
Okay.
Not to go down the rabbit hole too far, but
No, you're good.
It was a great explanation of it, I think.
I hope so. Our roles as humans, as domesticated wild animals, I believe, Robbie's view is we have two choices: to choose fear or choose love. And so I've chosen to lead with love and not believe or try to reduce FOMO as much as possible in all the other areas where we are controlled digitally. We are red versus blue. We are everywhere you turn, it's some sort of a fear-based tactic. And I tried to raise my children lead with the carrot versus lead with the stick. And so I'm taking that next piece, if you will. That's where the lead with love comes from.
No, that's really cool. And that makes sense. And so, yeah, I was talking to Aaron about this last night, and you brought up, like AA, like I was telling Aaron last night, he was kind of describing me the poker night that you guys have, and kind of like, it's an opportunity for you guys to get together and just hang out and talk about common interests, but also kind of like talk about whatever's on your chest if you need to get something off. And I was like, that's pretty much, that's therapy. That's exactly what it should be. And so, at the top of the episode, I kind of talked about like, this is a space I didn't even really know existed. And it's like, I didn't know that there was a space for people who are in the tech NFT world to, come together and still have that common thread of like, we're trying to promote mental health. And so I thought that was really interesting and unique to groups just like you guys. Obviously, I'm sure there's more groups than just you. But I think that that's amazing that it seems like everybody has everybody's starting to find their own space. And I just think that's interesting.
It's being able to find a community. I think that everybody has their own niche or whatever they're kind of into, and it's finding a community of people that are interested in the same things that you are. And hopefully you're in multiple ones, because being a part of the NFT space myself, it was such a unique experience to get the information and viewpoints from people all over the world. And so I think that's the biggest part, because you realize you're going through similar situations that somebody that is thousands of miles away is doing. You can mirror and understand their situation and maybe learn something from it. And it's a connection that you would have never gotten before. And so I think that's where I get excited about Web3, just because I know it's still in its very early infancy, and the fact that it kind of had a boom and a spike, and now it's I think there is the trend of people are looking for spaces that of positivity, and I think that's the key here. And hopefully it can overrun the negative ones that are out there, or the negative things that happen in the Web3 space. So it's definitely, I think it's a spot to talk about and to help warn people about certain things that happen, and inform people, I think is a big part of everything. And I think that's what you're doing as well.
For me, and I talk as much as I can from a place with no ego, so I bring to this, as a 52-year-old, soon to be 52-year-old man, what I like to call is wisdom. I have the scars and the scrapes and the bruises and the experiences, and don't touch that. That's hot. It's going to burn your hand. And I say that in a non-condescending way, that there's a lot of folks that have met, and I've helped to teach how to grill a steak over the internet, because they graduated college in the middle of what I'll call Y2K, back to where I see the mirrors, but in 2020, when the world was upside down. And so, yes, I think back to Ronnie, as you said, if you've been around the space for a little while, all you'll hear is the term utility. What utility? What am I getting from this? What is the value I'm getting? And what I've come to surmise, or my hypothesis after 2 years and change now in the space, is that the community is the utility. The groups and what the friendships you make. And as Ronnie said, I've got guys that I've communicated with that are in Australia, and they're 14 hours out of me, and as they're getting up, I'm getting ready to go to bed, and we're talking about the same crap that I've dealt with, he's dealt with, and vice versa. It's really become a channel to globalize what we would do if we were just sitting down at the 7-Eleven, buying a can of Coke or something.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that one of the most important things when we're talking about mental health, and you mentioned being in therapy, is like finding those connections with other people who are, going those experiences too. We talk on here all the time about how your story is unique and it needs to be shared. Somebody needs to hear it, but your struggle is not unique. You've never been through anything that's never been gone through by somebody else before. The situation might have been different, but other people have dealt with divorce, or with their kids running away, or breaking their leg and not being able to work for whatever it is that you're going through. And we tend to like isolate ourselves and say, well, you guys don't understand, I'm going through something. And so when there's all these different communities popping up, and I think that, like Aaron was saying, educating people about them is so important, because you hear about something like, how am I trying to say this? If you're already in that realm and you hear about a group that's already made for something that you're interested in, then you're way more likely to, put yourself out there or put yourself in that group, rather than if you have to go looking for it, or if there aren't those groups out there. So I think that it's important that we continue to, even like this group that we've got going here, we don't get a whole lot of views, but, we keep doing it for those people that do consistently watch. Cause I believe that, even if there's one person out there that needs to hear what we have to say, then that's worth it. And so, yeah, I think that it's excellent. I think that it's amazing that you're able to do something like that is so specific, and it just makes sense. I think that it's a big encouragement to other people who feel like they don't have a group, that feel like they don't have a space to talk about anything. Go do it. Go make a space, because you're able to. There are options out there. And so I think that kind of what you're doing is very inspiring, for sure.
Well, thank you. And I'm not walking with a giant bright flashlight. I'm running into the furniture. I'm still, figuring out what's going on. As Aaron said, it's, with the term that like a lot of people like to use is "we are early." It's in its infancies. At the same time, one of the, I guess, an area that I would call wisdom is, I experienced this, what I would feel is almost the same kind of trend in Web 2 as we're seeing in Web 3, where, I grew up in that high tech space in 1998, 1999, 2000, selling software, still the same kind of business I'm in. And you had Home Grocer or diaper.com, or, call it whatever that new next shiny IPO, what are we going to make our boatload of money on? And so you had a high tech Web 2, Amazon, Facebook, things that have survived and have profited and have gone through those cycles. And you have a lot of the casino mentality that it just sort of fizzled out. And Web 3 is mirroring that almost perfectly. You have lots of young kids, when Lambo, when am I going to make my $1 million, and it's, the theme of people that I respect that are trying to help, spread the wisdom is there's a lot of people talking about 10-year overnight successes. Like, I'm a 10-year overnight success, and trying to take that oxymoron of there is no such thing as an overnight, it's 10,000 hours of whatever to get better or whatever you got to do. And that's, I think, what we're trying to bring to that group and help them to see that there are some groups and technologies and places where with effort, love, and energy, they will prosper and be communities that will be here 10 years from now. And there will be a lot of digital assets that are just sitting out there that they just didn't, make it. And I think to bring it all together, I'm hoping that what I've done is I'm in 100 Discord channels. There is no real easy way to go to a directory or to go find your people, as I'm hearing putting your words in my words. It's really hard to find your people. And so just spreading myself around, being part, listening, participating in spaces, trying to just get the word out. And then there's a tight knit core group, if you will, of us in the specific community that we actually gift out tweaks quite often to new members to basically give it so that there's no real cost on their side, if you will, to participate. It's a open invitation, and come spend some time, participate, be a fly on the wall, if you will. And if it is something you want, as you said earlier, if you want to push the button to jump up on stage and ask a question or make a statement, or say hello to somebody that you've been following for 10 years and now finally got a chance to do it, you can do it. So so I'm very appreciative and grateful that you guys have had this old guy on here as long as I've been to talk about it, because it is something that we need to spread the news, if you will, so that it is not just people thinking that it's you young kids trying to flip JPEGs and get bad bad. I was trying to think of some sort of bad direction, but it's kids that are just looking for a place to belong. As you said, we're all domesticated wild animals.
Well, and like the whole tech space has taken over. Like people are building computers and doing stuff way more than they were when I was a kid. Like that was unheard of. And obviously it's because technology has come a long way. But yeah, I think that you're right that there's a lot of even kids out there that are already in this space that are, needing to find their people. So yeah, I had a couple quick questions. Aaron, did you have anything you wanted to ask him?
I did. I do have a question for you. And I'm curious to know, you'd mentioned obviously I was going to say Army, and that's my own projecting, that the Navy and probably obviously being an older child kind of shaped you and helped you push you through different challenges and stuff. But and I picked up on it, obviously being around you for a few days and going forward, it's you can see it, but where did your positivity come from? Like, obviously you mentioned kind of going through tough times, but yet still having your flashlight is on. I think that's the key. It's not off. You're not in the dark. You're trying to look and help and search for other people and help them. Where did that positivity and that want to be more positive for others come from?
I will do this as least emotional as I can, even though I can already feel emotions as this starts. So, I'll skip back. So, father of 4, married at 19, went through a divorce in 2015. So you can do you can't do the math because you don't know what the age was when I was 19. So 24-year marriage, I don't want to say fell apart, grew apart, changed, that ended. Went a different direction. Had in my spirit had some challenges with using alcohol to mute issues and deal with not wanting to feel the hurt, if you will, or the pain. Wanting to get rid of that. So I went through therapy and counseling there. Went and I think got a lot more positive on that side of it. Met my third love. You'll have to look up what the third love means. We have been married since 2018. We have 7 kids blended together. We have our 10th grandchild will be here in April. I say all that in 2019, we lost a grandson at a year old. And all of what I'm trying to say is, as this is built up, and and we haven't even talked about my walking, as I've gone through these growth pieces and tried to make myself a better person, it's seeing the fear versus the love side, seeing your brain is the engine to your body. So, people that have health problems, and a lot of it is up here, but it manifests in a knee or a back or a shoulder or you know what I mean? There's just all of that. So I don't know if I can pause there and back up, but in 2015, I found a company called Fitbit, and I put a thing on my wrist, and I started to challenge myself to how much am I moving, and should I be stagnant? I feel sitting still is the new smoking. And about 2 years into that journey, I found a man named David Goggins, and I listened to Don't Hurt or Can't Hurt Me. Sorry, I was going to say Don't Hurt Me. I don't want him to hurt me. Can't hurt me. And he talks about most folks that go out and they give it their all and they get done and they're like, oh, I'm done. They've given about 40%, 30%, and we are so much more capable. So I gave myself a goal to walk the circumference of the earth in a period of time that was finite, meaning by the time I turned 50 years old. And that was about a 3.5 year period, so it averaged out to 12.2 miles per day, every day for almost 4 years. I finished a month early. I finished Pi 3/14/2021, and I'm sorry, 2022. And while I did 24,950 miles on my feet, I listened to 110 Audible books. I've listened to thousands of hours of podcasts. I've talked on the phone for hours and hours with acquaintances and friends during 2020 when the world was shut down. And I just, through that journey, come to the conclusion that I would rather, in the words of the Berkshire Hathaway guy, I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. We can't Warren Buffett. I can buy anything in the world but time. So with the finite of time and everything that I've described, and loss and love and everything, to me, if you're going to put the energy and you're going to put the effort and you're going to do it, it might as well be on the positive side, on the love side, and direct your body to where you want to go versus, jumping in the boat and being ill and feeling ill and being depressed. And it just doesn't seem like a very good recipe. So,
yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. I think that's one of the things you highlighted or I had written down at the beginning, was pushing through fear. I think kind of the best things are on the other side of fear. And obviously being able to share your journey of pushing through those challenges and stuff is something that I think people need to hear. And like we've mentioned, I know that's one of the first words I heard out of Landon's mouth was tell your story. I think that's kind of the biggest thing. And I definitely appreciate you coming on here and sharing yours with us today.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're definitely appreciative. I was going to bring up you walked around the globe how many times now?
I'm into my second lap. I think I just hit 33,000 miles. So I'm about 8,000 now, past my first lap. I've slowed down. I'm only hitting, I'm going to say the only, I'm shortchanging myself. I'm walking about 8.5 to 9 a day instead of the 12 that I was at the high point.
And so that's that's 8. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's even humorous. My bride will look at me and she'll say, "You need to go for a walk." It's her equivalent of, "Here is a Snickers bar." Like you can tell it's more, for me, it's become more mental than it is anything
You're
else.
not you when you're not walking.
No,
There
no.
you go.
We as wild animals, we're built to not get eaten by the hyena and have to walk to find our food. And yeah, the grocery store is too convenient.
Yeah. So, and that's like 8 to 9 miles, like an 8 to 9 mile. Just what you're not talking about, like, do you add up the walking that you do throughout the day? Are you adding things up, or are you just walking straight 8 or 9 miles?
It is a cumulative 8 to 9 miles. That could be, we do a 2.5 mile walk, and we were doing 100 push-ups a day every day. So that was, part of it. And then later in the day, I'll do with the fact that I've done so many daily walks, I can tell you, okay, if I need 4 miles, I go this way. If I need 3 miles, I go that way. If I need 6 miles, I go this way. And needing to get 12 miles plus every day, you had to do that to do things. Now I'm sitting here, I have a house that's got this island in the middle where the staircase is. And I've been known in an hour long conversation to walk 2.5 miles around in a circle inside the house, doing patterns on the tile like hopscotch, if I show my age here. So
Yeah. No, I know
yes,
exactly what you're
it's
talking
constantly
about.
being moving. Yeah, just constant movement.
That's
We've
wild.
had them tied down here for 40 minutes too. This is amazing.
I'm on the mobile so I could get up, but no, I've been trying to keep the picture straight so that, people don't get walking sickness or car sickness by watching me move around.
No, that's great though. And like on top of all of the mental health stuff, like I was flipping through your Instagram yesterday, and like you take your fitness just as fitness very seriously, it seems like too. And that, it is a lot about just staying healthy as well as staying mentally healthy. And so, I think that's awesome. I hope that, when I'm 50, I'm able to still do all that stuff, because man, I'm sure that it makes it a lot more fun being able to, rip around with the grandkids and not being, out of it.
You see lots of people looking for instant gratification. You see lots of people that think, hey, let's go this or do this, or there's a magic pill, or if I just do what have you, even Fitbit, 10,000 steps a day, everything's great. I think it's more complex and more comprehensive than that. I think there's, to use a fire triangle analogy, I think exercise, sleep, and what you eat is all very much equally worth and weighted in value. An 8-hour, if you don't get an 8-hour, or call it 7 to 8 hours, I think is the recommended, if you get sleep deprived, it's the equivalent of having 2 beers and going driving, right? It's sleep deprived. Sleep deprived is just as bad as alcohol. And I'm trying to figure out how and where I got off track here, but eating the right foods and not filling yourself full of sugar, and then sitting on the couch and playing video games. So all 3 of those is really, as I said, equally balanced. And as I said, I need to walk for my mental health. I try to eat certain ways because it's all tied together. And if I eat crap, I don't sleep well. And then it's all interlaced.
It's all connected. Yeah, that's balance is something that we talk about a lot, and finding, the balance of time, energy, all of that stuff. And so, it makes sense that when it comes to health, mental health, it's finding balance. So to kind of wrap us up here, Robbie, if you don't mind, I would like to ask you, what's one thing that you would tell to somebody, whether it's 30 or 40, whatever age it was for you, that you were really struggling with the mental side of things? What's something that you would say to either encourage or discourage that person, that younger you?
My wife does not like it when I use this example, but I'm going to use it anyways. The biggest piece of growth for me was learning your opinion of me is none of my effing business. And that pregnant pause was there on purpose. What you feel about me shouldn't bear any weight on how I feel about myself, how I treat my family, how I go and deal with life. Your opinion's your opinion. And I think a lot of us get too wrapped up into what are they thinking, what's going on, and most people aren't thinking about you at all, and they're just doing their own thing. So if you can not worry about what other people thinking, I think it's a huge relief, at least for me, off my chest.
Absolutely. I could sit here and probably talk about that one statement for a while with you, but I'm just going to leave it at that. That's great, Robbie. We have really enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better. We wish you the best of luck moving forward with what you're doing, and we hope to be able to continue to connect in the future with you, so we can keep in touch, so that we can keep encouraging each other, because I think that, like we've been talking about, connection is so important. So we appreciate you coming on and sharing your life, sharing your story, sharing your inspiration with us.
Yes.
Thank you both. I appreciate you setting this up, Ronnie.
No problem. Thank you. I'm sure I'll see you soon, and I'll talk to you soon, I'm sure.
And
Talk
thank
soon. See you in
you.
August.
Yeah.
There you go. And thank you to anybody who's out there listening or watching, wherever you are listening or watching. Just keep on coming back. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
This is Landon Ballard, and this has been the Humans Anonymous podcast brought to you by Moi. For more information on mental health, substance abuse, or to have me and Amaria come speak at your school, please head over to moi.net.